How are we feeling?
Feeling good, feeling good.
Jerome Fuck Your Puts Powell just did
Oh God.
just did a 50 bips rate cut. How do you guys feel about that?
How you feel about
Joel,
it?
weren't you,
I know. Why you looking at me like that? I know how
weren't you
you
calling
feel
this like
about
3
it.
months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, at Asymmetric, we're actually a macro fund dressed in crypto clothing. And we wrote about this almost 3 months ago. And we were told that we were crazy because we thought that Jerome Powell had to cut 50 in September because he didn't cut 25 in July. At 2:30 this morning, I had to take some cringe victory laps on the internet because it turned out to be true. So, yeah, 50 bips today from the Fed. We expect more liquidity to come into the market. I think it's going to be a great Q4 for all of us.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big switch.
Woo! Thank you.
Go ahead, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's a pretty big switch in language from Powell because their focus the past 2 years or so has been on bringing inflation back down. And that's been the reason they're way more restrictive with their policy. But at their last meeting, they were pretty clear and blatant that their focus is now on making sure the economy is not deteriorating further. And that's why I think one of the reasons they cut 50 instead of 25. But that language means that moving forward, they're going to continue to go in that direction unless they see significant changes in the data on inflation. So I think it's really good for like risk in general.
Yeah, I think what you'll end up seeing, like to Anson's point, like the Fed has what's called the dual mandate, where they focus on a target inflation rate of about 2%, and then they want to maximize full employment. And so we saw softening in the labor markets over the course of the past couple of months. They should have cut in July, but they got data the day of the meeting, and they didn't cut, which is why they had to cut 50 now. But most importantly, there's 6 weeks until the U.S. election, and so if there was any bad data print that comes within that time, the Fed now has egg on their face, and they would actually have to do what we would call an emergency cut, and that would be a political shitstorm in the United States. There's no way that they were going to actually enable that to happen, which is why they had to do 50 now. The last thing I'll point out, though, is the 50 bits cut is important mostly because they can start high and taper lower, right? So when the tightening cycle began back in 2022, they shocked the markets with 75 bips and then another 75 and then did 25 from there. This isn't necessarily a shock from our perspective. They should have done 25 in July. They're doing 25 in September. Now they're doing 50 and they're playing catch up. So we think they probably do maybe another 50 in November, but certainly we're on a path for 25 until we're 200 basis points lower from the top of the corridor, which was 5.5%.
So, given that the Fed is cutting, typically, there's two camps, right? One camp is obviously they see liquidity in the market, risk on. Some people call this potentially an upcoming recession or a signal for an upcoming recession. Funny enough, I was listening to Peter Thiel's podcast during All In Summit, and he seemed to be bearish. He sees a recession coming. He sees the AI boom as kind of the signals for that 99.com bubble. How would you respond to that?
I mean, I would look at the data, and right now the United States is tracking towards like a 3% GDP.
Sure.
Atlanta Fed GDP number yesterday came out. They increased it to 3%, and it shows it ripping into the fourth quarter. So from a pure economic output perspective, it's hard to see a recession when you have rising GDP values. I'd never bet against Peter Thiel, so maybe he has some crystal ball out into the future. But I think the reality is, like, you have a cutting cycle that's begun by the Fed that's going to loosen financial conditions, going to make it easier for people to borrow money, refinance their mortgages, buy homes, and this is a global central bank coordinated effort. You see the same thing with the ECB, you see the same thing with the Bank of Canada, et cetera, et cetera. Moreover, though, in the United States next year, in 2025, we have over $110 billion of CapEx investment for things building like chip manufacturing plants, green energy, all of these types of things. These are massively stimulative to the economy. So as we sit here today, like again, I'm not betting against Peter Thiel. It's hard for me to envisage a situation where there's somehow some massive recession in 2025. And furthermore, just because you're cutting rates doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the economy. I think so many people make this mistake. They go back and look at the previous 50 bips rate cuts, and it was like COVID, global financial crisis, dot-com bubble, Why are we cutting rates now? Because the real rates are too restrictive. And so they want to stimulate the economy while maintaining, low inflation and full employment. And that's what you're going to see, I think, going into 2025.
So, given where we are in the market, how would you construct your portfolio?
Meme coins.
There we go.
The thing you guys came here for. Actually, you came here for Iggy. She's on her way, so don't worry. She's going to be making an appearance. Yeah. But no, look, I think if anybody has followed me on Twitter, and even Ansem certainly, I think has a similar view, is like this concept of it's either a full-blown depression or dog coins to $1 trillion.
Yep.
And the reality is the Federal Reserve and the central banks are going to be printing money. That's not going to allow a depression to happen. It's going to allow people to go further out on the risk curve. And so, this is not financial advice, obviously, but I think having exposure to meme coins is the highest risk return you could possibly have in a portfolio today. Don't put all of your money in it, of course, but, balanced portfolio, of course, various crypto assets. Maybe you own some real estate. That's cool. Maybe not. But, I think you're probably going to want to be long assets going into next year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think one thing with crypto is you never want to try and force your opinion on the market. I think that's why a lot of people this year have done poorly in how they're allocating, because they believe something that the market was showing them consistently was not true, just on how certain assets have done comparably to others. And it's been pretty proven, I think, this cycle so far, that meme coins have been the best beta to their native L1s for sure. As people move down the risk curve outside of just the native asset, they're looking at what other altcoins they can get exposure to. And if you look at altcoin trading volumes across centralized exchanges, across DEXs, all these different venues, meme coins are a large percentage of that volume across the board. I think that's going to continue to happen.
So, looking at the different types, there's so many meme coins now, obviously, over the past 18 months. There's celeb tokens, which we'll talk about in a bit, but you have meme coins that are trying to build its kind of wedge in the market. And I think the one that you've called out, Ansem, was Mule, right? Mm-hmm. And so I guess what differentiates different meme coins? What stands out to you? What are the things that you look for when you're looking at meme coins?
Yeah, there's a lot of different attributes and factors that meme coins have. I think the biggest and most important one is the community around them. I think Murad talks about this a lot, like the cult-like behavior that happens with memes is super bullish. And if you look at how Bitcoin originated back in 2009, 2010, yeah. It didn't have any actual value. It had no value on exchanges, no value anywhere, really. The only thing that made the network has value was all of the validators who were running validators on the network and all the people holding Bitcoin who believed in it and what it stood for and what it was. And that's really purely mimetic value in the early days. And then obviously it would be impossible to recreate a Bitcoin just because of how it started out. But early days, there was that Bitcoin cult is the reason it's still here today, the reason crypto is still here. Because if those people didn't believe in Bitcoin early on, there's no reason for it would be priced at any dollar value. So I think now I look at 4 main attributes when I'm discussing meme coins and which ones you should be buying. I think relatability is one that's really important. So when I say relatability, that means any person that doesn't know what crypto is, doesn't know what DeFi is, doesn't know what an L1 is, a roll up, whatever, all the technical aspects, but they're able to identify what the meme coin is and what it relates to. So WIF is a really good example. Yeah. Anybody can understand it's a dog with a hat. That's really easy for anybody to understand. I think meme coins are kind of a Trojan horse to get people into crypto, and then they do more research and learn about all the other different factors. Second thing I would say is distribution is really important. So there are memes that launch with their own teams. Bonk is an organized team, very structured, super smart people behind it, and they own a certain percent of the supply, but it's vested over a certain amount of years, and they're doing work to do events and partnerships and all of that stuff for Bonk. So if the distribution is concentrated in a team or a certain amount of people, you need to be vested, or you need that community of people to be very interested in the meme long term. The issue that we saw with the celeb coins is these botted launches are sniped on launch, but they had zero intention of staying around long term, a lot of them. which is why you have people who have like 50% of the supply. Obviously, the coin's not going to be able to do well on launch. So there's the team, and then there's more decentralized version, which is more common among memes, is you want really widespread distribution early on with your meme coins. And the reason that you want really widespread distribution is you have a ton more voices that are going to speak to it and make it go viral across different platforms, across different socials in its early days. And that's how I think these things spread like wildfire. Third thing I would say is like the virality aspect. So if you look at Doge in 2017, you guys know Elon was obviously pushing Doge super hard, which caught me off guard. But because of how many people he knew, and everybody knows who Elon is, that made Doge able to go viral super, super easily. So with memes, it's either connection to some like current events that people know really well, or like people influential across socials, or like athletes that a lot of people know. If they're connected to these memes, that's another way that they go super viral. And I would say the last thing is like extensibility. So with WIF also, one of the ways that it went super viral is because the hat aspect of the meme, you can put a hat on all of these other different things that are not technically related to WIF, but once you make them related to WIF by memeing them in that way, that also spreads the attention. So whenever people saw like a hat or like edited a popular meme with a hat, like that's another way they were extending the meme onto other like things in pop culture.
Yeah, Ansem and I did a podcast in December of last year, and I forget who it was with, but the interviewers asked him a question about WIF, and he's like, I asked this girl, that I was with, like, which one of these, she's, if I remember correctly, She was not into crypto or anything, and he was like, which one of these do you think is like cuter or whatever the best that you would like want to gravitate towards? And it was this dog with a hat on, right? It was obvious. And I think there's an extremely underappreciated importance in that simplicity. And then you take exactly what he just described with the extensibility. The hat can be applied to basically anything. Like that has extreme meme virality capabilities built into it. And yeah, let's over-intellectualize a dog with a hat, but it works. Like you see the thing on, the hat is like on everything, right? And that just keeps spreading through, the internet zeitgeist, and more people get associated with the WIF community. The other thing that I tend to look at, and he had mentioned Bonk, right? Bonk has like a crazy story as it relates to how it came to be in Solana. It was airdropped to people on Christmas Day, 2022, in the absolute suicide watch state of depression that people were in at that time. And it helped fuel a lot of developer teams to continue to be building on Solana. The Bonk team, to Anson's point, they're very smart. They're very they operate like a company. And now what has stemmed from this sort of like, team of community members that just wanted to help push Solana forward, there's actual products, and they're doing live events that are generating real protocol revenue that feeds back into this ecosystem. So a lot of people will ask me like, a meme coin, why would it have utility? It's like, well, why would it not? You either have to constantly be capturing attention, which is very, very difficult to do, or eventually when you become a blue chip meme coin, which in my definition is you reach $1 billion market cap and retain it, you have to figure out another way to have some level of utility associated with it. And so, if you look at Mother, for example, with what Iggy's been doing, she's done something I don't think anybody has been able to do in Web3, because most people will come to like a celebrity getting into, you guys probably saw the last cycle with the NFTs and all the nonsense that was associated with that. They think it's immediately like, oh, they're grifting. And I think that that's a healthy skepticism. But if you look at what she's doing and how Mother is being integrated into so many different products and projects, no one's really doing that. And these are her companies, businesses, things that she's involved in. But I think the other key thing that's different, and I think gets lost on, say, the celeb token concept, barring all the scams clearly, but those are always going to happen no matter what, if it's in crypto or not. 10, 15 years, whatever it was, when Instagram first came out and celebrities started to get on Instagram, people loved it because they felt closer to their celebrities. There's a level of proximity that gets smaller, even though you're just on an app and you're looking at what Kim Kardashian's eating for breakfast. But as a fan, you kind of feel like you're more connected to her. And I think Iggy's gone on record to say that this is one of the things she likes about the Mother community and the token that she's created. It's another way of having some proximity to her and what she's doing in her cult of personality. I think that that is a really like sort of underappreciated point as to how the meme coin / celeb coin has become a thing in crypto.
Personally, I don't think meme coins are the right naming factor for what's happening in the space. I do think meme coins bring in a negative connotation to all the things that are happening. I mean, like, what's really happening today is that we're all tokenizing ourselves. We're tokenizing brands, we're tokenizing individuals, and her brand value and the token within that brand to its entire ecosystem. For meme coins, they're starting to build out like animations and like real world toys and products like Pudgy Penguins. Is this how you guys think about it? Is this where you think it's gonna go?
I mean, from my perspective, you know, I've written about this and probably tweeted too many times about it, but the way I look at like meme coins, culture coins, celeb coins, whatever you want to call it, things that basically piss off VCs, these types of tokens, they attach themselves to culture. And culture can be personified through things like art, music, food, fashion, etc. But there's absolutely internet culture. And so you as a person on the internet, or you know, an anonymous pickle on your Twitter, like what does it matter? Like you could be anything you want on the internet, and there's ways that people can build community, they can monetize that, they can tokenize themselves, to your point. I think that is actually such a new area of exploration for what's happening on the internet, because back in like 2006, 2007, whenever YouTube really started to pop off, this was the first time we had like a viral video, but the person that made the viral video couldn't like monetarily benefit from it. It was basically YouTube. And then eventually, if you had viral content, you could get a little small like percentage of it. And then maybe you have some like referral or affiliate links to something else. Well, what's happened with, you know, call them culture coins or meme coins, is that there's now the ability for an individual, a team, a product, a concept to actually have monetary value associated with it that can be propagated through the world at the speed of light. I think that that's just an incredibly powerful thing. Is it good or bad? I don't really care. It's happening. And so as an investor, especially as a hedge fund manager, my job is to generate returns for my investors. And so this is one of the reasons why we have no problem kind of adopting and partaking in this cultural experiment as to what's happening with, say, meme coins and culture coins in crypto.
Yeah, I think every cycle for crypto, we kind of get a new primitive that's proven out. And I think the focus for this cycle, people have said it's like a meme coin cycle, but I think what it really is consumer adoption and like consumer apps in crypto. That's really what it's representative of. Like the first proof of concept I would say would be Bitcoin, obviously, store value, hedge against inflation. Second one would be Ethereum. Global decentralized computer you can build all these applications on. That's proven out now. And the third thing I would say is mainly DeFi. Like we have core DeFi primitives now that not just us crypto native people believe in. People in TradFi believe they have value. These applications have been up and running for a long time now, and people store billions of dollars on them. And I think this cycle is the consumer focused cycle for crypto. So I think NFTs were really the Trojan horse for retail last cycle. There were a ton of people completely new to crypto who went directly to NFTs. Didn't know what Bitcoin was, didn't know what all these other things were. They went directly to NFTs. And the same way this cycle, people are going directly to meme coins and then learning and researching on the back end. I think that we haven't seen the long-term proof of these culture coins having value as a community and owning a part of that value. We haven't seen that proof yet. I think Pudgy Penguins is probably the closest to it. Yeah. They've done a really, really good job with their NFT brand. That's like a brand, like a real brand that these people who own the NFTs feel like they own a part of that brand. And they have all their merchandise in Walmart, like the plushies people buy. Those are doing well. So that's like a brand that's done well. I think similarly, memes are doing the same thing now as like a brand. Like Mew was at the anime convention in New York, handing out toys, handing out plushies, doing their demos and games and things like that. And there's some memes that are going down that path of being like a brand and a culture that people feel like they own a part of in crypto. So I think it's consumer-focused apps, consumer-focused things in crypto this cycle. That's a big area. I know you talk about it all the time.
Yeah. But this also has a pretty big implication to you mentioned the VC market, and then obviously like the infrastructure market and all the things that has happened over the past few years. But it seems like, a lot of the value, speculative retail value, is moving away from infra to meme coins and other types of culture coins. Is this a permanent behavior change? How do you think this is going to affect, protocols that are generating cash flows? Where do you think I guess from a high level perspective, is retail always going to just play in the culture coin area moving forward? And the smart money will go to, infra, DeFi, etc.
Yeah.
Well, no, go ahead, Anson.
I think there's two main reasons for that. I think whenever you see the first iteration of something in crypto, that's when it has its speculative mania. It's super, super high, no target really, nothing to compare it to. And that's what happened with L1's last cycle. You had L1's last cycle who went extremely high because nobody had any benchmark besides Ethereum. That really was it. So at the end state, you ended up with these L1s with like multi-billion-dollar valuations, but no apps on them, and not a ton of users outside of a few. And so now it's like, okay, where do we price this infra as they're in the stages of that proof of concept and building out the apps and having users and gaining users? The second thing I think is like the regulatory issue. Just like it's really hard for people to direct cash flows through these tokens to token holders right now. And obviously that's going to change in the future, but that's like another reason I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I love thinking about this because there's so many people that will come from, say, traditional finance, and they've got their spreadsheets and their discounted cash flow and price to earnings ratios and all this bullshit that was made up. Think about it. Like, what was before the price to earnings ratio? No one knows. And then all of a sudden, somebody created it. You know what that is? That's a meme. That's a meme, guys. Sorry, price to earnings is a meme. Now people will take this as the word of God and bring it into finance and think that that's actually the way that it's supposed to work. And then they take that from traditional finance and apply it to crypto. What's the big difference? Crypto is permissionless networks and protocols. These are businesses. So why would you take a business model and apply it to a network? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right.
Oh, look who
Sorry.
it is.
I swear I'm not an asshole. I'm really not.
Well, you entered at a great time because I was boring them with discounted cash flow models. Okay. So, Iggy Azalea, everybody.
Hi, sorry, I really apologize. I do apologize. It's just F1 is kicking my ass.
Yeah, I know.
It's kicking my ass.
Well, to finish the thought so that we can actually get to the main event, look, ask yourself this question. If you're out in the audience right now and you have, a few $1,000s or a few $1 million, are you going to buy Aave token that is generating real revenue, or are you going to buy Mother? Like, think about it. You're going to buy something that's actually going to be moving with the market going forward. And frankly, fewer people know about Aave. And to Anson's point, that was last cycle. So I just don't think that there's a lot of value in applying these old models to the kind of the new token economy, especially on a cycle basis.
So, we talked a bit about what are meme coins, right? And I think people have this very negative connotation to them. And so I sent a message in our group chat to ask, what do you guys want to talk about? And you mentioned something which I think really hit home. I feel like the internet memes can be a language, an idea, or a song. A token can be a meme token without having to have a newer and more widely accepted version of a meme. So you almost feel like this is the next evolution of a meme.
It's the next evolution of a meme, but it's also the standard original rendition of what memetics is. And I think that what's happened is memes have been adopted by internet culture, and so now we have this more, what I would say is the modernized version of how we think of a meme. A meme is a picture with something funny or one illustration of something that's transferred over and over again online, and that's not actually what a meme originally was. A meme is a unit of culture. That could be language, that could be playing hopscotch, that could be a catchy song. And yes, now because of the internet, we have this new derivative of it, but I think the interesting thing is to see that now that's been kind of suspended in time as a meme is only this one thing. A meme is so much more. It always has been. The term was coined many decades ago. And so I think what I would like to see as the older original version, I think that is the future of meme tokens. And it kind of gets confused then when we talk about things like, well, what is it? Is it a celebrity token? Is it a meme token? Celebrity token is meme token. Meme token doesn't have to be an illustration of something. It can be as simple as a catchphrase, and that can become a meme token. And I think that that's what we're going to start to see culturally within crypto, where what the definition of meme is can kind of navigate back to the original concept of that.
What's very interesting, and just want to touch on a point, when Haktua first went viral, I saw on Pump Fund like 4 or 5, I mean, maybe 20 or 30 different Haktua tokens.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see this with every new meme, like Man in Finance. I don't know if you guys have seen that the viral song, but I've seen many tokens that went viral because of Man in Finance relationship. So I think that there's something really important happening here, which you brought up. And it was the only message you sent, but that was a message that, but that kind of...
It's the most important one, in my opinion, about
one.
when we're talking about this, because
Exactly.
it's very relevant.
That's how powerful I think that message
I
is.
think that if more people approached, if you're thinking about starting a meme coin project, I think that it would be really beneficial to you to look to a broader definition of what meme is, what memetics are, and how you can incorporate that in your token. I think it also helps with subjects that we've spoken about a lot, Joe and Ansem, in terms of escapism or building out a larger idea of what it is, more robust. That's what I do like about celebrity meme, is that it can be language because the subject can speak. It can be something that they wear over and over again. There are a lot of ways that it can culturally meme itself, but that doesn't mean that that concept is limited to it being a physical person. You could start just with your phrase, and that is the meme token. And I think that if you're going to be a first mover in where meme tokens are going, it would be smart for you to consider having a different angle like that to set yourself apart from the traditional form that we see of a tokenized illustration of a meme.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about like the Haktua thing, and like what's so fascinating about this, because I was a software developer for a long time, and you can basically like front run culture with tokens now, right? If you know actually how to write code and you can execute on Solana with smart contracts, and you have like maybe you have some filtering mechanism where like when the Haktua thing happened, it just automatically generates a token, it automatically creates a pool, and then people can kind of like go apeshit on it. I'm not suggesting that's like a good or bad thing. It's just going to happen. And to Iggy's point, it doesn't have to be an animal, a human being, any of these types of things. It could be literally a phrase. And so I think we're kind of like at the very, very beginning of how crazy this shit's going to get. Because when things can just programmatically tokenize culture, what does that mean? I don't think anybody has an answer for that, which I think is why it's really exciting for all of us on stage.
And it's effective. Like, for example, I like to play around with these sorts of other types of memes that we're talking about. And a few days ago, we decided in my community to meme a phrase. And so we started to do copy pastes online. And Ansem, you participated in this, of Iggy Azalea started the bull run. It's silly, but, just from a phrase alone, that is a meme that then transfers itself and repeats over and over and over again and is replicated. And then my market cap is up by 15 million that day. And I haven't actually produced any stereotypical meme there, but I have memed language. And things like that, I think, are going to become very effective because we are oversaturated and I think fatigued as a market and as an audience of what we traditionally think of in this category.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, like, on the one hand, people have asked me, Joe, there's such a proliferation of meme coins. Is that good or bad? And I'm like, well, if you have a fixed supply of people, yeah. But this is what's I think so cool about having someone like Iggy come into the Web3 community is that she's helping bridge a massive, new user base into the space. Now, they could start with, and this is what Anson was talking about earlier, they could start with being like, I want to be a part of the Mother community, I'm going to hold some Mother token, but then all of a sudden, guess what? They have a wallet, and then they start to understand like, oh wait, so like I can go and get a discount on my mobile phone service because I can pay with Mother on Unreal Mobile. Like that's pretty cool. But then they're like, wait a second, how do I like get cash back in my bank account? They have to create like a Coinbase account or OKX or whatever, depending on where you live. It creates this kind of like path-dependent virtual or virtuous, sort of end goal where you start with someone who has a huge audience, huge reach, globally identified as a cultural icon, but that can bleed into a broader user base. And so, right now, all of us in crypto, we're like shuffling our money around and trying to figure out who's going to make a few bucks, right? That's basically it. Until you have this kind of step function improvement in the number of users, it's not going to change too much. Yeah, you could have the institutional side of stuff, buying Bitcoin ETFs, et cetera, but until you actually have like culture at a mass level adopting crypto, it's just going to be more of the same of what we've seen for the past, call it 6-7 months.
Yeah, I also would like to add to that I think that sort of token functionality integration is something that we're going to see a lot more now that we see crypto accepted as a payment system a lot more openly. And I think that's going to rapidly keep developing where there's going to, I think it will be a necessity for meme tokens to integrate those sorts of perks, not just, I see people talk a lot about this as, okay, having these sorts of perks can onboard the normies, onboard the new users. And yes, that is one function, but also I think it kind of eliminates some of the PvP type of mentality that we see that gets people, like we're saying, in and out of a token quickly and turns it more into a PPP system where you are more likely to stay within this token because there are these other perks that you're getting. And it's not just that they're integrated. I think what's really important beyond just the integration of the token into these sorts of products or things being relevant in future, but that they come with a discount or they come with an incentive to make the user say, okay, this club is valuable to me because I have these experiences that are on offer to me beyond the experience of a digital community. And it's going to have to develop that way for it to remain competitive here if we're going to have access to crypto freely when we're out in retail. It can't just then be, well, the token is integrated into this. Okay, well, I can pay for this in Solana, Bitcoin, the token. Why would I join this meme coin then? That's no longer, integration becomes no longer just the perk. It has to develop into something that is of more interest and value to the people that are holders here.
It's like a sub-social network.
It is, and it's also, I think, integration is interesting because it's a way to add to the brand identity. What is your meme token and what is it about? And what other brands can you then align yourself with in a parallel approach that give you a more in-depth persona of who is it that's in your token holding it and how does that person see themselves? And it's a lot like that in entertainment where people identify, I like rap music or I like this artist and this to me means that I dress a certain way and I outwardly can show you what I like. And brand association plays a lot into that culturally with music or entertainment already. So I think that with crypto becoming a lot more retail, it's undeniable that we're going to see that type of thing happen in meme tokens too, where it's more than just what do you hold in your wallet. It's beyond that. The meme token can become a bigger brand or a persona that somebody can identify with and say, yes, this is me and all these brands are me that are associated with it, and this is a wider, more cultural thing that's happening here that I see myself in and want to be a part of, and these people in this community also are this. So I want to come and be here with that. Can you identify that when you like, a cat? How do you know when you're looking, at the party that everybody there likes this one, token. You can't. It doesn't have these defining factors, or I'm just trying to mindlessly integrate into every other thing for the sake of utility. Like that does not develop brand identity, and so there's no consumer identity then to see themselves and want to be parallel to that. And I think that that's very important for the future of where meme tokens ultimately have to go with retail expanding for crypto.
I completely agree, and I think one thing that I want to kind of underscore to Iggy's point, like celebrities have found ways of monetizing well beyond, their craft, right? So like Ryan Reynolds is a great example. He's an amazing actor, but he had like a tequila brand, and he had a mobile virtual network operator that he sold and made a fortune on. Rihanna has her cosmetics line, right? Like everybody knows about the Kardashians sort of retail empire. I don't even know how many products they have, but and I'm not even sure what their skill is.
To cut you off quickly though, I will want to add to that. They come with a brand identity. Exactly. There are people that do not want to purchase that product because they do not see themselves associated as a person with that persona.
That's right. Yeah, and with, say, like if you look at like Rihanna, for example, with her cosmetics line, like she has an enormous audience, and there are people that want to associate it with her, and she's built a brand identity. I think the next level up from that is what Iggy's doing with Mother. She's creating a brand identity around Mother itself while having access to her celebrity and all the things that she's doing with it. I think that's the key difference here, is that all of the other folks that have tried to enter Web3 and do some celebrity thing aren't thinking about it from how do we build a brand around this that people want to be a part of because they may know me from my years as a super successful artist, right? That's a huge differentiator, I think, for what Iggy's doing as well as how things are going to be moving going forward.
Yeah, I agree with that. Successful celebrity tokens cannot translate if the brand is just the person.
Exactly.
That does not work as a concept, and that has to change when we're talking about celebrity meme tokens. It cannot be that. It has to be the same retail formula that you're talking about with Rihanna having Fenty or Kim Kardashian having Skims, where we've moved beyond for them in retail their face necessarily being on the brand to entice the consumer.
Exactly.
And it is the same formula with meme tokens. That is the only way that it can work. Otherwise, you're pigeonholing yourself into, okay, the super fan of what I've already built out here as a brand identity. It is a different audience, and it just cannot work that way.
That's right.
Ansem?
I think one of the most important realizations for me is how much attention is actually worth in this attention economy. If you look at the Hawk Tuah girl, that was like a 30-second clip, and it turned her into a billion-dollar business in less than a month. If you look at how people do deals with these very important like rappers, athletes, companies, like Stake. Stake did a deal with Drake for $100 million because so many people know what Drake is. And I think it's easy for people to understand how much that attention is worth when it's not a coin or a token. But when you do that transfer, that financialization that crypto does, people kind of like get lost in the gap there. I think it's really underemphasized how much attention is going to be worth, especially with how much people are on the internet now.
I agree, and all these people that we're talking about in the retail space, ultimately, they are successful because they create memes. We're talking about musical artists. A song is a meme. A hook is a meme. They are in the position that they are and the platform that they are because they understand memetics, whether they realize that they do or not, they do. And so this is the same thing, and that is why I feel so strongly about the fact that we have to expand our concept and reasoning of what an internet meme is and backtrack that to what it was originally. That is the key to where this is ultimately going. Whether you agree with it or not, I mark my words, in 5 years, that is what we're going to be seeing for meme tokens. I'm very sure of that.
You know what's very interesting, as we see a lot of startups in the crypto space. We're starting to see startups that are looking to tokenize music and songs. And we're starting to see like onboarding experiences like Moonshot that are looking to onboard more and more retail. So all of what you're saying is starting to happen even in the startup world, which is very interesting.
For sure.
And it's cool. And that's why I'm wearing a cowboy hat today. Because I'm having a rodeo. And I'm very committed to branding, you know? And that's why I'm wearing this cowboy hat today, because I just want to showcase the fact that escapism matters here too when we're developing meme tokens and developing a concept that people can buy into. I think that we understand that when we have, especially in NFTs, the storylines of NFTs, or what this gecko has and the different parts of it, and what we can develop that within meme tokens too, but it doesn't have to be that it is secondary to some picture or persona or character. This is directly the consumer that has to identify with it now in future.
Do you think, Iggy, do you think what you're doing though is actually reproducible for other celebrities that you're friends with?
Yes, 100%. But do they want to?
Right.
I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
I think that once there's a roadmap for people to see how to integrate and how that can be successful, then yes, I think that they will. But I think, in my personal opinion, I'd say that we're about 2 or 3 years away from that truly happening, because meme tokens as a whole need to evolve into this new model that we're talking about. And having memes that can be people or language will make a lot of that make more sense to the outsider or the celebrity. But I don't really think that celebrities are essential in coming into the space and showing you how to do that. It already exists in the retail space. Right. We already have that roadmap of what catches a consumer's attention and gets them to buy into the brand, and then want to look the brand, want to outwardly represent the brand, want to buy into the brand experience and other parallel products. And really, we should be taking that roadmap, no matter if you are an illustrated token or if you're language or music or a human being.
Right.
And we have the roadmap there. It doesn't require necessarily celebrity to come in and do that. Celebrity does that in retail, and meme tokens should look to that roadmap and find ways to utilize it in the crypto space, because it's proven, and it's been proven for decades and decades and decades. Yes, products have expanded and they're more robust now in the way that we integrate them into an already engaged audience. But you know, this has been occurring for decades. It's not a new concept. Right. The internet makes that hyper sensationalized, and we have more access to the consumer and to the data of what is working or not. And meme tokens need to take that, it's available to us, and start to integrate it into the token. Yeah. It can't just be hype or selling the news anymore. It's not going to be good enough.
Yeah. In many ways, I feel like there's a couple of things that I'm hearing. One is celeb tokens and tokens in general are going to become much more rampant. And so people will have to design different playbooks. And in your case, you're actually designing the playbook for celeb tokens. Yeah. And so I do feel as if once you find massive success, I could see, you know, hundreds of other celebrities coming in, replicating that playbook. And you tweeted something this morning, I think it was this morning, where you talked about the debate rebuttal with Eric. And you mentioned something, and I want to bring this up, which is celeb tokens are simply meme tokens with docs founders a larger reach.
Right.
Which I think is, that's like exactly what it is. And so I think that was very important. But then one more thing I want to touch on is that there's a group of people within crypto that just hates or doesn't believe in celeb tokens, meme tokens, and et cetera.
I don't believe in celebrity tokens as they have been in the past either. I think that concept does not work. I understand the concept of getting a person that has a platform and to onboard an audience. Yes, that could work. Yeah. But the roadmap of how to make that happen will never be successful and does not work. It does not work. If we're approaching celebrity token as something that is outwardly different to simply doxed founder of a meme coin, it's a losing battle.
That's right.
You cannot say, I'm Katy Perry and buy Katy coin, $ Katy. No. That is not, what kind of a brand identity is that? What's my experience? Where is this escapism? It's not, it has to be a wider concept. I wasn't meaning to talk about Katy Perry, but I will. Celebrity perfumes are a good example of this, and it seems like a weird thing to compare, but successful celebrity fragrance is something that many celebrities go into fragrance and attempt. And the ones that work, Katy Perry had a good one, it was Purr. She took something that she's known for. She likes cats. She has cats. And she made a perfume purr. It's a memeable thing that is parallel to her persona, but she didn't call her perfume or brand it Katie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Meme tokens are the same thing, especially with celebrity tokens. It has to be a relatable concept that's still on brand, parallel, harmonious branding for the celebrity at hand, but it cannot be just, here I am,
Yeah, exactly.
love me.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. Look, I mean, the point that you were making about like the folks that get so upset that celeb coins, meme coins, culture coins even exist, like the CTO of A16Z's crypto fund, he and I were supposed to have a debate, and he refused because he's like one of these guys. And then look, I don't know him personally, but like I see him on the internet, and you know, he and other folks that tend to over-intellectualize a lot of their investments in this space have a problem with people fucking shit up with things like meme coins. Like that's just a fact. And that's never going to change. These are permissionless networks by design. You should embrace this type of like bizarre creativity that's going to happen. And frankly, having culture actually adopt this new technology makes it cemented for life. So this should be actually embraced by the broader community as opposed to VCs with massive bags and investments in over-intellectualized technologies pointing to meme coins and culture coins as if it's some sort of horrible thing for the industry. It's just nonsense.
Well, what's really funny about that is when you have a trade thesis and it incites a ton of anger in a very large group of people,
Exactly.
it's either a really good thesis or it's a really bad thesis. Yeah. I've learned that a lot. It's like if people are like really, really, really against it, that means that whatever belief they currently have, if that ends up being proven wrong, they're going to have to redo their entire thought process on why they're wrong. And those are also people that are going to end up buying later.
Yes.
So it's really interesting. It happened to me with Solana also last year.
Exactly.
People were yelling at me saying I was crazy for talking about Solana was going to do well this cycle. I ended up being right, as like the market has shown. But if I were to take what people were telling me back then and just listen to them, I would never have bought it at all. So that's a really interesting like point with trades, I think, for sure.
All right. Sorry. I think we're at time. Any final words?
Any final words?
Giving Iggy final word.
My final word is this. If everybody thinks something is maybe a terrifying idea, I would fucking lean into that shit.
Yes. Preach.
Yes.
Lean in. I am a rapper. A lot of people thought that I was very shit, but I'm still very successful because it's a polarizing concept.
Yep.
If there are a lot of people that are so far on one side against something, it's probably very innovative, it's probably very scary, and if you can figure out how to crack that, lean into that shit because you need to take risks and it's going to pay off. And I believe that what we're talking about is inevitable, and I really don't think that it's harmful. I think that the concept that causes harm or somehow takes away to bring in people that like meme tokens or these sorts of tokens to crypto is really like not the way that human nature is. Humans are not two-dimensional. We're all eclectic. We have very different interests. We like multiple things. I can like a meme token, I'm sure a lot of you do, or like to have fun and do something silly. It doesn't mean that you don't want to go and read the Wall Street Journal or that you're not excited about the rate cut. I fucking am, and I also am going to go shake ass tonight at a party. You know,
Exactly.
We all can be robust and eclectic, and I think for a space to truly have stay power and to grow in the way that it needs to and evolve, it has to be a wider ecosystem. And you have to understand that, yes, maybe you hook someone on something that's technical, or maybe you hook someone on something that's silly and escapism, but they're going to come into the ecosystem and see other products that are of interest to them. And so ultimately, I think that it's beneficial to me when someone is a fucking Bitcoin maxi purist that comes and checks my stuff out, because you'd be surprised how many of them actually want to have a good time, and vice versa.
Exactly.
Maybe you came in here for some escapism and to do something silly and you just wanted cats and dogs, but now you're talking to people in this community and you see that this other thing is of interest to me too. And so ultimately, however you get them in the door, crypto is an amazing, expansive world. I've only been in it for 4 months, and I'm having the fucking time of my life. I'm interested in things that I never thought that I'd be interested in, or that I looked at in the outside and thought, that's so boring. And it's not. It's fun. It's exciting. I feel like when I see the market move up and down, or Sol move up and down, I feel like I'm seeing a song on a chart go up and down. And that same experience is going to be shared by other people. It's not that you are onboarded for one thing and then you are simply some two-dimensional thing that only is there for that. So there's really nothing to be fearful of in that regard. We just need to onboard with whatever the spark is, and to make sure that we have a robust community that then entices people to explore it. And it is really that simple.
Yep.
To real world adoption.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Literally.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thank you.